The South China Sea may seem distant, a stretch of blue on the map far from most of our daily lives, but its impact is global, touching nearly every corner of the world. This vast waterway is a superhighway for trade. Your phone, your clothes, your groceries, and even the fuel in your car likely cross these waters at some point. Over $3 trillion in trade passes through here every year, making it a vital artery for the world economy. Every day, thousands of ships navigate these lanes, carrying goods that keep our societies running. Any disruption means higher prices and empty shelves everywhere. The ripple effects would be felt in supermarkets, factories, and homes across the globe. But it's not just about trade. Beneath the waves lie rich fishing grounds and vast reserves of oil and natural gas, resources that millions depend on for food and energy. These resources make the region even more valuable and fiercely contested, fueling competition and sometimes conflict. Who gets to drill, fish, and profit? That's at the heart of fierce disputes, as countries vie for control and access to these riches. The South China Sea is where economic interests and military power collide, with warships and coast guards patrolling alongside merchant vessels. Multiple nations claim overlapping parts, making it a flashpoint for tension and a potential hotspot for conflict. Stability here is essential for global peace and prosperity. The world's leaders know that what happens in these waters can affect everyone. A conflict would send shockwaves through the world economy, rattling markets and threatening livelihoods far beyond Asia. It could disrupt trade, spike energy prices, and even risk a wider war that draws in major powers. That's why what happens here matters to everyone, everywhere, from shoppers in New York to business owners in Nairobi. The world depends on these sea lanes staying open and safe, ensuring the steady flow of goods and resources. The stakes are high, not just for the region, but for the entire planet. Decisions made here will echo for generations. The South China Sea is more than a map dispute. It's a test of global cooperation, diplomacy, and restraint. The choices made here will shape the future of trade, energy, and security, influencing how nations interact and prosper. This is why the world is watching, holding its breath as events unfold. The South China Sea is not just a regional issue, it's a global one with consequences that reach every shore. And tonight, we'll show you why this waterway is at the heart of our interconnected world. The United States and the Philippines, two long-standing allies in the Pacific, have taken a major step forward in their partnership. They have just signed a historic energy pact that could reshape the region's future. This deal is about more than oil and gas. It's a powerful statement of partnership, trust, and shared strategic interests. The agreement specifically targets waters claimed by both the Philippines and China, a region fraught with tension and competing interests. By joining forces, the Philippines gains not only American expertise in energy development, but also crucial security backing in a volatile area. It's a bold move to assert sovereignty and develop resources without interference from larger, more aggressive neighbors. The U.S. involvement signals that any disruption or aggression could draw in a global superpower, raising the stakes for all players. For Manila, this is about more than just energy. It's about securing energy independence, boosting economic growth, and ensuring the country's survival in a competitive world. Offshore oil and gas reserves have the potential to transform the Philippine economy, creating jobs and new opportunities for millions. Alone, the risks were too high. Together, the two nations have a real fighting chance to protect their interests and shape their destiny. For the U.S., this pact strengthens vital alliances and pushes back against China's growing expansion in the region. It turns words about freedom of navigation into real, visible action, showing commitment on the world stage. The deal reaffirms America's commitment to the Indo-Pacific, sending a message of unity and resolve to allies and rivals alike. It's a calculated risk, but one both nations believe is necessary to secure their future and maintain stability in the region. The message is clear. The Philippines will not be pushed out of its own waters, and it stands ready to defend its rights. The U.S. is not just watching from the sidelines, it's actively shaping the region's future alongside its allies. This pact could change the balance in the South China Sea, setting the stage for a new era of cooperation and competition. China claims almost the entire South China Sea, a vast expanse of ocean that is one of the world's busiest and most strategically important waterways. Its sweeping 9-dash line, drawn across maps, marks the area Beijing says is rightfully its own. But this bold claim overlaps with the exclusive economic zones of several Southeast Asian nations, including the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Brunei. all of whom depend on these waters for food, energy, and trade. China bases its claim on centuries-old historical records, but most of the world, including international courts, rejects this argument as lacking legal foundation. To enforce its sweeping claims, China has built the world's largest Coast Guard fleet and assembled a vast maritime militia, civilian vessels that act as an unofficial navy. These ships, along with swarms of fishing fleets, are used to intimidate, harass, and block other countries from fishing or exploring for oil and gas in the disputed waters. In recent years, China has also built artificial islands, transforming once submerged reefs into sprawling military outposts, complete with runways, radar systems, and missile launchers. These fortified islands now project Chinese power deep into the heart of Southeast Asia, changing the region's security landscape and raising the stakes for everyone involved. Neighboring countries have repeatedly protested, holding press conferences and staging demonstrations, but China continues its expansion undeterred. In response, the U.S. and its allies regularly send warships through the area, conducting freedom of navigation patrols to challenge China's sweeping claims and assert international rights. These operations send a clear message to the world: China's map is not recognized, and the sea remains open to all. But with every maneuver and close encounter, the risk of a dangerous miscalculation or accidental clash grows ever higher. The South China Sea has become a high-stakes arena where global power, economic interests, and national pride collide. The world is watching closely and worrying about what might come next in this tense maritime standoff. The risk of conflict is real, and with each passing year, it only seems to be growing. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, sets the rules for the world's oceans. Most countries, including China and the Philippines, have signed it. It defines exclusive economic zones, areas where countries control resources up to 200 nautical miles from their coast. In 2013, the Philippines challenged China's claims in international court. The tribunal ruled in 2016 China's 9-line has no legal basis. The court sided with the Philippines, affirming its rights to its own waters and resources. China rejected the ruling, calling it meaningless. Since then, China has ignored the verdict and increased its patrols. This refusal to follow international law fuels ongoing tension. It sets a dangerous precedent, one powerful country ignoring rules everyone else agreed to. The world's oceans depend on law, not force. The South China Sea is now a test of whether rules or power will decide the future. The stakes go far beyond the region. The rulebook is being challenged, and the world is watching. Tensions in the South China Sea ripple across the globe. This waterway is vital for shipping. Any conflict could disrupt trade and raise prices worldwide. 1/3 of the world's crude oil passes through these waters. A blockade or clash could spike global energy prices overnight. The region's oil and gas reserves are crucial for countries like the Philippines and Vietnam, but disputes make exploration risky. The South China Sea is also a flashpoint for military powers. The U.S. is treaty-bound to defend the Philippines. China calls the area a core interest. A small incident could escalate into a major conflict between nuclear-armed powers. The arms race is growing, with countries boosting their militaries instead of investing in their people. The security of the entire Indo-Pacific and the world economy is at stake. The world cannot afford a war here. Southeast Asian countries are on the front lines, but their responses to China are far from united. China's economic power gives it leverage. Most nations rely on Chinese trade and investment. Some, like the Philippines and Vietnam, openly challenge China and strengthen ties with the U.S. Others, like Malaysia and Brunei, prefer quiet diplomacy to avoid confrontation. Cambodia and Laos, with no claims, often side with China due to heavy investment. This division is clear in ASEAN, the region's main organization. Efforts to create a binding code of conduct with China have stalled for years. The lack of unity weakens the region's ability to push back. China exploits these divisions to advance its interests. Without a common front, Southeast Asia struggles to defend its rights. The region's future depends on finding a stronger, unified voice. The South China Sea is now a stage for global rivalry. The U.S. wants to uphold international law and freedom of navigation. China seeks to reshape the region with itself at the center, pushing the U.S. further away. This is a classic clash between a rising power and an established one. Other powers, Japan, Australia, the UK, France, Germany, are sending ships to show support for international rules. The region is crowded with warships and fighter jets, raising the risk of accidents. No country wants to look weak, making compromise difficult. A single mistake could trigger a crisis with global consequences. The world is holding its breath, hoping for restraint. The South China Sea is no longer just a regional dispute. It's a global problem with stakes for everyone. The risk of escalation is real, and the world cannot afford it. The choices made here will echo worldwide. The future of the South China Sea could go two ways. One path leads to more conflict, close calls, arms races, and economic pain. Tensions would keep rising, risking a catastrophic clash between major powers. The world economy would suffer, and the region's resources would remain a source of strife. But there's another path: diplomacy and cooperation. Countries could step back, talk honestly, and manage disputes peacefully. China would need to moderate its claims. The U.S. and allies would need to reassure China. Shared interests, like protecting the marine environment and fighting piracy, could bring nations together. Joint development of resources could benefit all. A long-awaited code of conduct could finally be signed. This path isn't easy. It takes courage and compromise, but it offers peace, stability, and prosperity for everyone. The world must choose confrontation or cooperation. The stakes could not be higher. The South China Sea is a test of whether law or force will shape our world. The new U.S.-Philippines Pact raises the stakes, but also the hope for a rules-based order. Avoiding conflict will require steady leadership and open communication. Peace serves everyone. Trade flows, people prosper, and war is avoided. No one wins a major power conflict. The costs would be devastating. The search for a diplomatic solution is urgent and shared by all. China, the U.S., and Southeast Asia each have a responsibility to act with restraint. The path of peace is hard, but it's the only one worth taking. The world is watching, and the future depends on wise choices. For the sake of the region and the world, peace must prevail.